Hello and welcome to BTA Live, the show where we talk about all things breakout trading. And today we're going to be talking about one of our favorite topics, or maybe two, breakout trading and books. We love reading books. And joining me today, of course, is Mr. Breakouts himself, Tomas Nesnidal. Welcome, Thomas. Are you there, Thomas? I can't hear you. Oh, we lost Thomas already. It's not a good start. Let's try again. Hey, Thomas, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't know what happened. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. No problems. I'll just say we're going to be talking about two of our favorite things today, breakout trading and trading books. So before we get started, though, Thomas, we all know that you're traveling around Asia and you're typically in a different spot whenever we speak. Where are you today?
Actually, nothing magical. I'm back to the Kuala Lumpur. And just to look, guys, I was in Laos last 2 weeks, and I got all the diseases that I could got. I got some virus and food poisoning. Who knows? Maybe some light version of COVID and everything at the same time. So it's not horrible, but I'm a little bit. Sometimes I need to pause or cough or something like that. So please be patient with me. Otherwise, all good. Here we are.
Well, we've got a comment here from Neil. Starting early today, it looks like Thomas is in the witness protection program. Good one, Neil.
Something like this, yes.
Yes, exactly. Good one. All right. Well, how about we? So we're talking about algo trading books today, and we're talking about advanced books. So I think it was just before Christmas, wasn't it, Thomas? Last year we spoke about algo trading books for beginners, and we named our favorite four and why we think they're good. But before we get into the advanced ones, why do we want to talk about algo trading books? Like, what's the benefit of reviewing some of these?
First of all, guys, can you just confirm you can hear me, that the internet connection is okay? So far, so good?
Yeah, can hear you. You're a little bit blurred.
Because I'm having small delay.
Yeah, you're a little bit blurred, but we can see you and hear you.
Okay, that's the most important thing. Yes. So yeah, exactly. So, sorry, my voice will be my pitch will be very high sometimes today. Just my voice is changing the intonation. So last show we covered beginners books, and I think. I think one part of trader's journey is that we're never satisfied with the amount of information that we really consume and that we want to fully grasp about trading. And no trader ever ended with a beginner's book, right? Like every trader is keen on every book out there. And of course, I've been reading since I started with trading for many years. And I realized there are some really, really good books for more advanced traders. And by more advanced traders is basically for traders who already have all these beginner stuff solved out and sorted out. They know what they do, why do they do these things. Not necessarily they must be long-term profitable. Their performance still probably fluctuates or is not as smooth as they would want to. But overall, there are books for these traders as well. And I think these books are really, really great when you know what you're doing already. You're in a spot that you have direction. Let's say you have some model approach, but you're still far away from being perfect with what the performance you would like to have. And now the question is, what's next? What kind of sources could help you? And that's the kind of sources that I try to compile for today's show.
Yeah, we've got some really fantastic books on the show today, Thomas. So I can't wait for you to share those and we can talk about them a little bit. So after you finish coughing your lungs out, you want to get started?
Yeah, sorry. Guys, this is really a witness protection today, just I'm under surveillance and not being properly fed and no water being given and yeah. So let's talk about because some of them helped me tremendously on my own trading journey with a lot of different parts, and I want to show this specifically. So the first one is called, and I think some guys must know this book already.
Just waiting for it to. Here we go.
Yes. The evidence-based technical analysis. Yeah. And let me share something with you about this book. So you probably know that in trading, a lot of people are skeptical. And by nature, I'm not so skeptical person. I'm usually quite, I would say sometimes I'm really over optimistic, which is as harmful as being overly skeptical in trading. And I know that sometimes I'm too, like over optimistic and over enthusiastic, and my temperament sometimes needs to get down to the earth. And this is the book that really got me back to earth in trading, because this book perfectly explains if something doesn't still work well for you in trading. The chances are that you're working with some kind of wrong assumption or bias, or hindsight, or you're somewhere fooling yourself, or you're creating stories which are not out there. And this book was, to me, this was absolutely breakthrough in balancing my own natural way of viewing the life back to the earth, to the point where I realized how much of a danger is out there by really underestimating things like overfitting, curve fitting, data mining. And this book gave me enormous amount of skepticism and deep understanding of the danger of all these biases. And after reading this book, I really had to be way more honest with my way of looking at trading, where the data come from, where I still just making blind hunches and not really being scientifically driven. And it helped me a lot to balance both parts. So I would say this is great if it definitely pushes your boundaries. It makes you think about your trading differently. If you're overly skeptical already, do not read it, because then it will not help you much. But if you have these tendencies being overly optimistic, or sometimes drawing beautiful pictures without having a rock solid foundation, then this book will help you literally rethink every step of your development and robustness testing process, and make sure that you're not implementing subconsciously any bias or any hindsight or anything that could really jeopardize your real auto sample performance. And also, I have to say, this book was not easy to read for me. It was very challenging for me to read it. The language, the message, it went a lot against some part of my naturality. Yet the effect was fantastic.
Yeah, I have to agree. Actually, I read this book many years ago. I'm probably due for another reread of this one, but I do remember that had a lot of good info about survivorship bias and data mining in there as well. I agree with you. I think from memory, I struggled to read through that book. It was a bit of a slog at times, but the information was amazing, and so I recommend anyone who's a little bit more advanced to read it. It's definitely not a beginner book.
No, it's not pleasant reading, as you said, but it will make your robustness testing procedures better. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's the first book, Evidence-Based Technical Analysis by David Aronson. We got a question here from Huz. Are the concepts in this book used in VTA?
I also read this book many years later, and this book was pretty much the reason why I started to work on my robustness testing procedures, because before this book, I was pretty naive about robustness testing procedures. And there are not really concepts in this book. It's not like do this, do that. It's just like it makes you think. It's almost philosophical book, which makes you think about natural human biases and how this can be jeopardizing our real-time performance. So it doesn't give you any concepts or technical advices. It just puts a lot of storm into your brain. And when you step out from this brain, you realize you need to start doing things differently. And this book was the fundamental initiator of developing my robustness testing procedures. And right now, I share all of them in the Breakout Strategies Masterclass, which is version 4.0. So it's already pretty mature. But yes, this book was at the beginning of creating these procedures.
Yeah, I think this book can apply to any kind of approach you use if you're building strategies algorithmically. It doesn't matter really what tool set you use or whether you use the BTA framework or some other framework. I think this book can apply across all of those, right? It's very conceptual.
Yes, very, very, yeah.
Good question, Huz or Hutz. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So
for some reason, I cannot see any question. I just want to say, for some reason, I cannot see any question in chat today. So please, if there will be any, bring them up. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So that's book number 1. Do you want to do an intro for book 2, or should I just get straight to it?
Yeah, do the intro, please.
Here we go.
I'm curious. Yes.
Oh, I've already clicked the button. Van Tharp's definitive guide to position sizing strategies. Okay. Yeah. This is a big one.
Right. Yeah, it is a big one, actually. It's this
Literally.
size and that thick. So it's a huge one. One of the biggest books on trading. It's probably the biggest book on trading.
Actually have it here. Look.
Yeah.
If I drop this on my toe, I would have a very, very sore
really
foot.
thick.
It's a great book, though. Yeah.
It's like 3 kilos or something like that. So the way the previous book was my philosophical foundation for creating robustness testing procedures, this book was pretty much my foundation to launch a hedge fund. And for a long time, I was reluctant to launch a hedge fund because I thought I didn't have enough experience. And in a sense, the real reason was I didn't have enough confidence. And I always was fighting with the question, what would I do if I had a lot of money? How would I manage it? What would be the conceptual approach? And I didn't have any key. And that's why I was postponing the decision to launch my own hedge fund despite many offers. And then I read this book and I realized that launching a hedge fund is very doable because this book provides a very, very clear path to working with a lot of money in a very, very efficient way and utilizing a lot of money to smooth your equity curve and improve your overall performance. So I read this book and this resulted into some proprietary concepts. So at the end of the day, I didn't use many advices from this book, just some of them, but it gave me the confidence. It showed me the path. And I don't think this book is for total beginners or people with a smaller account, but I think once you start thinking about managing or trading some reasonable account, at least I would say $500,000 or more, then this is a highly practical guide how to achieve your goals better and faster. And I think this is the most beautiful part of this book, the practicality. It's so practical. Everything is explained in clear spreadsheet with all the formulas, and you cannot overlook anything with this book. It's as practical as it can only get. And again, another book that significantly pushed my boundaries because showed me what is possible and what is the key to a lot of money and potentially launching hedge fund and improving results significantly with position sizing. So I can highly recommend among my very top trading books ever for sure.
Yep. And your favorite part of the book was?
You know what? The SQN introduction, I totally love although I don't use it. I used it at the beginning and I don't use it at all anymore. I love the concept, the way it's explained, the impact of SQN. I think it's brilliant. I think I think very few people realize how much of a novelty and contribution Van Tharp made to the trading industry. I think Van Tharp was never among, he never was as popular as, I don't know, Larry Williams or Alexander Elder, because he was way more advanced and talking in more sophisticated language. But his contribution to trading community, it's enormous, and advanced traders definitely will always appreciate Van Tharp's teaching.
Yep. I remember one of the parts in that book that I thought pretty neat. I haven't used it yet, but maybe one day, is the concept of having some markets money and then your own money, and being able to kind of adjust the volatility of your portfolio by trading in a special way. And I thought that was pretty neat. I haven't been able to apply it yet, but one day I think there's some merit in doing that, especially when you're managing a lot of money for people and they want smoother returns. So there's a lot of good concepts in this book.
Yeah,
definitely. Yep.
Yes. And we have, if I may say, we have a position sizing specialist in our elite mastermind program. His name is Jim, and I think he keeps he really, whenever he presents anything, which he's got obviously a lot from Van Tharp's teaching, and he presents some things to the elite community. For everyone, it's a mind-blowing presentation each time, because there's so much to do and so much to achieve with position sizing. It's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah. So a couple of questions in the chat about this one. Question from Walter. Does this book mention formulas for calculating risk of ruin?
Yeah, I don't. It talks a lot about this. I don't recall all the formulas in details, but it talks a lot about risk of ruin and different ways to calculate it. So it does, but it does mention formulas. I don't recall how much in depth.
Yeah. Okay, question here from Uz. I think statistics is used, if I remember correctly, in the first book. Are you using statistics in the BTA framework?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the whole approach is heavily based on numbers and statistics. I would say the whole framework is overly developed on evidence-based analysis and nothing else. There's very, very, very little room for anything but evidence-based analysis.
Yep. And another question, is DPS based on Van Tharp's book?
Not at all. DPS is a completely different concept, which we developed way later after reading this book, some 8 years or 7 years later.
Yep.
Maybe more.
Okay, so that one, I'll have to say this book is also a classic, position sizing classic. I know other people have written position sizing books that are really, to be honest, just rehashes of the information in this one, but I think this is the best one and the most complete one. Okay, so that's the second book, Van Tharp's Definitive Guide to Position Sizing Strategies. The third one, I'm excited for this one. Here we go. It's coming up. It's got a very unsexy title, Statistically Sound Indicated Financial Market Predictions by Tim Masters.
Yeah, so this is the ever, quite honestly. And that's very interesting, because I don't like reading this book. It's super technical. I don't understand the coding language. It goes nitty-gritty, technical details. It's for engineers, and reading this book for me, it's real pain. However, I love different views on things that are presented in the book, like the concepts, the application of this concept. I think it's for high-level C++ coders. and people who really love stuff like that. But the conceptual thinking behind these codes and approaches that Timothy Masters presents in the book are, again, totally shaking my view and giving a different perspective on trading. And that's what you aim for when you're more experienced trader, right? When you're more experienced trader and you already know what you're doing, what you appreciate mostly is a different view or something that gives you way different angle, so you can shake up a little bit your current view, step out of the comfort zone and see if you can start thinking a little bit differently about your trading. And this book did it. For after a long time, this was, I read this book about 3 years ago. Finally, I thought that no book would surprise me anymore with interesting new ideas, with novelty. This one surprised me. So that's the latest one I read that I put on my list of trading books. A lot of interesting ideas, and I'm still testing them and going through them. It really makes you question some parts of your development process, which again is always a good thing. We want to read, as experienced traders, we want to read books that help us to question what we do so we can find gaps and improve them. And this book definitely does this job. So yeah, very, very good book, very difficult to read, at least for me.
Yep, exactly. I love this book as well, but I also had the same challenges as you. It's very technical, but some of the concepts, actually, we missed the last slide, which has your favorite part, which I thought was really the big, one of the big concepts that kind of opened my eyes to indicators and how they're used, is this concept of entropy, which we won't go into today because it's very technical. But it was, we're still researching this idea, and yeah, it has some legs. So I think this book, actually, I just remembered I did a interview with Tim Masters on the Better System Trader podcast, and we talked about the degradation of strategies and all these concepts or techniques that you can use to measure and hopefully avoid degradation of trading strategies. So that's a little bit more accessible than the book. The book is kind of hard to read, but if you go and just go to bettersystemtrader.com and search for Tim Masters, and you'll find the interview there. He's very accessible in that interview. So I think he's brilliant, but I don't understand everything he says. He's way above my intellect level. But it's a good book to stretch your
way above mine, I guess,
your
well.
ideas, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a question.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, we got a question here from Walter. I don't know if we can answer this one, Walter. Do you remember any of the statistically sound indicators?
I do remember the entropy concept, which I alone also deploy some indicators. Yeah, the entropy indicator that we both remember. That's a really great one.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily an indicator anyway. It's more of a conceptual idea that applies to indicators, right? So we got a question here from Hoots.
Yeah, true. I don't understand why it's called indicators, because it doesn't talk about indicators much, does it?
No, well, he does test some, I guess, in the book, but yeah, it's really more about the concepts, I think, how you can apply them to your own trading. Hoot says, can you combine Van Tharp's position sizing and DPS?
Not really. These are vast different approaches. It's completely different way of thinking. Let's say the Van Tharp's book is his contribution to position sizing, and DPS is to position sizing. Very different concept.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I just posted in the chat the Tim Masters interview if anyone wants to go and check that one out. They want to explore Tim Masters a bit more. All right, so that was the third book, Statistically Sound Indicators for Financial Market Prediction by Mr. Timothy Masters. Brilliant book. And the last one, I think it's the last one. We're doing 4, aren't we? Yes, we are. We're doing 4. Dr. Brett Steenbarger, Psychology of Trading.
Yeah, The common funny thing about trading is that psychology is so important part of trading, and 99% traders completely ignore it. Like, no, that's not me. I'm Mr. Zen. I choose at all. I can handle everything. I do not freak up in drawdown. I'm perfectly balanced human being. I'm a next Buddha. And this is basically what happens when I start talking about trading psychology in front of traders. Like everybody's, no, not me, not me. I'm perfect. I'm completely balanced human being. Well, I am not, guys. I am not. That's why I need books like this, right? Like, I know my human weaknesses, subconscious biases, programming, and that's why I need to learn I need to understand how this is influencing my trading, and why sometimes I'm making stupid decisions because I don't want to be making them. And this is the best books that can really help anyone understand some behavioral patterns related to, let's say, less efficient trading or common trading mistakes. A lot of common trading mistakes are not by technical nature. That's just what traders do. They blame them to technicalities and brokers and stuff out there, but are internal conflicts. And Brett Steenbarger, he describes him in such a beautiful, digestible, human, yet very traders-like manner and language that everybody will start having this click, 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 and seeing how and why psychology is important. And I read this book like 4 times with a friend of mine in the past. We even purchased for Czech Republic, and we translated it into Czech language because I think this is really essential for trading some psychology, and it's very practical. It just he shares a lot of his own experience and practice, clinical practice, and it doesn't mean that it will make you a patient, right? Like sometimes traders think if they open this Pandora's box, they will become a patient. No, it's just another very objective, educated, practical view on what might be going in our head. And in trading, we're not just optimizing our performance in platform or in a call. We also need to optimize our performance in our head, and that's it. That's all. This book gives you some guidance how to optimize your performance in your head with very good steps, practical steps, and it works. It helped me a lot, this book.
Yep, a very good book. Bill's asked a brilliant question. Let me put this up on the screen. This comes up quite often, I think. Doesn't statistical results help to override trading psychology?
Yeah, until you're in 20% drawdown. Then once you hit 20% drawdown, please tell me about statistical results. Then all your statistical results go to trash bin, and you will not be them. No, it helps you to find your edge. It helps you create good strategies, but you're losing your money that took you a lot of time to make, a lot of effort. We're all emotional regarding money. Once you start losing money, I mean, just being in a regular drawdown, nothing fancy, your psychology will kick in each time. That's the way it is. You cannot override this with any code. There's no code writing like, if in 20% drawdown, switch off my emotions. No way.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
So yeah, it would be nice. Doesn't override. No, no, Bill. Good question. Doesn't.
I think that's a common
not in a drawdown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a common misconception in algo trading is, okay, I'll just let the computer do the work and I won't touch it. But yeah, you do find a way to get involved, especially during a drawdown. So yeah, here we go. I was just thinking about this quote, Neil. As Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So I think you're right, Thomas, that
yeah, exactly.
Especially when drawdown occurs, your emotions do kick in, even if the computer's doing the trading. So it's just a human tendency that we need to be mindful of. Oh, here's a good comment from Rock. G'day, Rock. I got the strategies and couldn't do it. Yeah. Trading psychology has many ways it can influence us.
That's a big one. Yeah.
And here's one from
Rock,
Ooh.
I appreciate the self-honesty. This is very important.
Yeah.
I think the self-honesty that just expressed Rock, that's the first step to really make a difference.
Yep. We got a comment here from algorithmic system lower. Even if we do algo trading, do we need to focus on psychology side? Doesn't that already figure out the psychology? Yeah.
No, that's a big misconception. That's a big lie, big misunderstanding, big fallacy, big misconception. Not at all. No. You will not be released from the duty to master your psychology with any approach, including algorithmic approach.
I guess maybe if you get someone else to trade your strategies and you never look at the results, maybe but then you'll probably not sleep very well at night because you'll always be wondering what the results are. So,
but then you must never look, right? Because once you must never ever look, because once you look and there will be a drawdown, boom, you're there.
Okay, so
what is the word in English? Relapse. You look once and you relapse into your psychology panic mode. Yeah. Relapse into the psychological panic mode.
Yeah.
Look once, you relapse.
Okay, and your favorite part of the book?
Mm-hmm. The entire book. It really helped me. Yeah. And you know, I would like to say one thing also about, if I may, because you know, it's easier. What is the worst way is to keep denying that psychology is needed even for algorithmic trading. And a lot of algo traders are in complete denial. No, computer will figure all this for me. And this is a huge denial mentality, which will get you stuck. Better than keep denying that psychology of trading is for everyone, even us, algorithmic trading, is just to grab this book and read it. It's very readable. You'll read it in a couple of nights and you'll get a completely new insight. And it's way better than trying to rationalize why you don't need it. Simple.
Yep. A question here from Bill. How does Mark Douglas compare to Brett Steenbarger?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I love both, Bill. I think Brett is way more practical with a lot of real case studies. He provides a lot of real case studies in the book. So it's I would say Mark Douglas, it's kind of an introduction, not for everyone. Brett's book is so practical with so many case studies.
Yep. Okay, so I skipped a couple of questions and comments in the chat. Let's go back. This one from Hutz. I really need to find out how to say your name. Have you read Ella's books? Are you using Ella's indicators in the Boss framework or in Elite?
I did read his books. I do not align with Ella's work. To me, it's more for engineers. I do not use his indicators. And that doesn't mean they're bad or they're not working. No, not at all. I know guys who use it and like it. It just means that I do not align with this kind of work. It just doesn't resonate with me. So no, I don't use it.
I use some of his indicators, but not all of them. But he's very technical. I think he's got some great ideas. But again, that's like above my intellect. So I use some of his stuff, but I don't understand how it works. Okay, comment here from Jace. I have problems when my strategies don't enter and exit as they were supposed to. So this was posted when we were talking about psychology of trading. So
no, this is great, Jace. This is, you know, even observing where you have problems and admitting that we are triggered in some cases, that already helps a lot. Yeah, I don't know what you mean exactly by supposed to, like if there's a technical mismatch or it's your ideal scenario where they're supposed to. But exactly, that's it. Like, we all have some trigger points, and when these points are triggered, we have the tendency to override the system or do something unrational. And it's simple. Trading psychology is just about revealing these tendencies, bringing them to the light, being aware of them, mindful of them, and just by being mindful of them, they're already becoming weaker and weaker. So it's a lot about self honesty. So this is great. If you share this, great. Thank you.
Yep. All right, Thomas. I think we caught up with the comments in the chat. We've got one more slide. And here we go. Here it comes. Challenge.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So guys, again, these are these books are you can really, most of them you can read in a week. Well, maybe I'm overly optimistic here. If you have a lot of time, you can work.
You'd have to be Superman, right. I think. Maybe one book a month.
Yeah, probably. yeah, you're right. Yeah, this is overly optimistic. Yeah, I think I remember the evidence-based technique analysis. That was a one, but I did read it in 1 week, but I had time. The one Tharp, I definitely read it in 3-4 evenings because I was eager to finish it. But I read 4 or 5 hours in a row. The Timothy Masters, I didn't read in a week. I have to admit, it took me 2 months to go through this book. And Trading, the Dr. Steenbarger, I read it in 1 week because, again, I love this book and topic, and it was so readable, but I had a lot of time as well. So that's only if you're on holiday, on 1 month holiday, then you can do it. Otherwise, it's better to digest 1 book per month. I agree. But I can sincerely recommend all 4 of them. Really, only if you're advanced. It will not do much. I think it will not contribute much to beginners. I think it will probably, I think for beginners, it will have the opposite effect. It will probably mess up with your brain and will get you to a place where you don't want to be at the beginning, because it's very challenging and very advanced reading. And you don't need this complexity at the beginning at all. This is like, we're talking about icing on the cake, right? Like things that you will appreciate in 2, 3, 4 years. But if you're there already, you will appreciate these books for sure.
Yeah. So so we did actually do a show on beginners books. So I don't have the link here, but if you go into searching YouTube in our channel, you'll see it was in December sometime. We did a book on trading books for beginners. So go check that out. We've got a comment here from algorithmic system. I really like the DPS method. Do you think DPS is more advanced method according to other position sizing methods?
It's not that more advanced, it's different. I think that's the point, understanding this, that people always, how do you compare Van Tharp and DPS? These are 2 completely different methods. Like Van Tharp, he invented SQN, and that was his contribution. SQN was his contribution. I had the privilege to be abundant with ideas and was able to come up with something new as well, which I don't even contribute to myself. It just came out of the blue, nowhere. So I had the privilege to be able to come up with something new as well, which is completely different, new way to position sizing, completely new. It's got nothing to do with any other traditional position sizing, nothing with Tharp. And I really hope this is my contribution to this topic, that hopefully will be a little bit of a legacy in years as well, or maybe will not, but definitely it's a different view and different contribution.
Yep, absolutely. If you want to find out more information about DPS, head over to dpstradingtechnique.com. I'll put it in the chat. There's an ebook there you can download and have a look at how the concept works. I think it's brilliant, actually. It's a pretty clever idea from Thomas. Thanks for sharing that one. And algorithmic system. Is that German? That feels like it's German. I can't say that. Thanks for sharing your comments on DPS. I'm glad you are getting some value from that. Question from Hutz. What order would you recommend reading these books? So I'll put them up on the screen again.
It depends where you are. Yeah, it really depends where you are. It's what is the biggest pain point for you, right? If you feel you need to improve your robustness testing procedures, go with the first one. If you want to manage a lot of money and don't know how to do it, read the second one. If you want a brand new view on technical analysis, indicators, statistical measurement, and if you want to also satisfy a lot of intellectual appetite, go with the third one. If you think that psychology can be holding you back from peak performance, go with the fourth one.
All right, thanks for that.
And only you know which one is your biggest challenge right now.
What do you tell us, Hutz? What do you think? What one are you going to read first? And anyone else who wants to comment in the chat as well. What did you think about Thomas's selection of the top 4 books for advanced traders? I would have to say I agree with all of them, every single one. They're probably. Oh, by the way, my name is pronounced Haz. Haz? Okay, I'll remember. Or maybe that's Haz. I don't know. My Australian can butcher any name. Don't worry about it. So thanks for sharing those, Thomas. If you enjoyed the show today, please give us a thumbs up on the video and make sure you subscribe so that when we release any new content, you are notified. And Thomas, any closing comments before we wrap up for today?
You just froze for 3 seconds, so I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, any closing comments before we wrap up for today?
Good question. Boost, guys, seriously, read them. That's the only comment I can give you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Thomas. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you for putting up with our tech issues. But we got there, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll catch you again in the next one in 2 weeks' time. Ciao.
Yeah. Good trading. Bye-bye. Good trading.